Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this interview. And today I have here Chris Lewis, the co-founder of Simpal, and we're talking about digital communication.
Hi, Tuli. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Chris. And so you founded a charity called Simpal, and you focus on digital communication. Can you tell me a little bit more about it, what you do and how you help people?
Yes, in fact, we're the only charity in the world that do this work. So we provide free digital communication for people affected by cancer. And when I mean affected by cancer, doesn't necessarily mean that that person has cancer, because unfortunately these days, once somebody does get cancer, a lot more of us are affected. That's friends and family. They're also affected, and maybe they didn't have a mobile phone, they didn't require that before. Maybe their mother, maybe their father has been diagnosed with cancer. So cancer poverty has been a big thing in this country for quite a few years now. It hasn't always been apparent, because most of us just feel that a mobile phone and its communication are a given right, if you like, that everybody has that. We assume everybody has that because it's one of the basics of life. But our experience shows us that not everyone has that, and not everyone even has broadband in their house, because they quite simply can't afford it. And if you can imagine that if you're the sole breadwinner in a family and you get cancer and you're involved in long-term treatment, which may mean that you can't do your work, then that's where the problems start to build up.
Thanks, Chris. And it's really great to have you here. And I hope you don't mind me sharing that you're also a cancer survivor yourself. And there's lots of people who do go through cancer and survive it, but not everyone founds a charity. So what made you start a charity?
So, yeah, thank you, Tuli. The word survivor, I'm a little bit not sure about the word survivor. I don't use it personally, but I know a lot of people do. So I have incurable cancer, but I've managed to survive 13 years so far, which is a miracle in itself. People like the word survivor, and I understand why they do. Personally, cancer, it's an unknown quantity, and it can come and go as it chooses. So, survivor's great, but sometimes you get trouble down the road. So. But what made me start the charity? I had no experience of cancer. I had no experience of any long-term illness. So when I experienced cancer for myself, I saw, unfortunately, a very tricky system to navigate for people. And unfortunately, you don't want to be navigating tricky things when you're quite seriously ill. The facilities weren't easy to find, and I was lucky. I had a good family, and I'm not a shy guy by any means, and I managed to find my way around the system, and I managed to find what I needed. But it made me think, when I was week after week sitting in my waiting room waiting for results of different scans and stuff, how people were feeling that didn't have the support that I had. And it made me, that illness made me feel very vulnerable. It made me feel financially vulnerable because I couldn't do the work that I was doing. It made me physically vulnerable because I needed support wherever I went. I couldn't even drive. My wife had to drive me. And all of a sudden I felt really, really isolated. Because at the end of the day, it's only me that is going through those things, and I'm sleeping on them, and my mind is worrying, and I couldn't do the things that I was used to doing. And actually the fear of not working for me was the worst. I've worked ever since I was 16. And of course, we all build up bills, when we're working. We live to the money that we're earning. And, I have a nice house, I have nice cars. And of course, my wife and I had the best phones and everything that money could buy. And then all of a sudden, because I was self-employed, everything stopped, and it was absolutely frightening. So I wanted to help people. I've been given a gift. I'm a good communicator, I'd like to say. and I use that communication now to help people through my charity.
Thank you very much, Chris. Yeah, it's great to hear how when you go through something like that and you're in a certain position, but then you see other people who are going through the same, the same health issues. But then because we start in a different position, some people you can then are basically hit harder. And I guess in the same way, during 2020, during the COVID pandemic, we've had, it's been really hard for some people, but in different ways. Also, a lot of people have been hit financially. Um, when you do help through your charity, making people connected, especially through digital devices and digital communication, hopefully in 2021 we'll be being able to see more of each other. So how do you see then the kind of transition and the role of digital communication in a post-COVID world?
Yeah, it's quite ironic actually, because we've been going now 4 years, so sort of 3 years really before COVID started. And we were always aware of the importance of digital communication. And we were always aware, and this is not just in the cancer sector, but generally across the world, by the way, the poverty issue meant that a lot of people couldn't communicate in the way that they need to communicate, not just want to. This is not just frivolous chat or frivolous Facebook. This is now engaging in hospital and other essential services that are all online now. I understand why they're online, and during COVID, the fact that they were online saved a lot of us, with GPs and stuff and the NHS, a lot of that's gone online for the better, I would say. That's it's helped us find a system. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but in my opinion, the NHS would be much slower in introducing digital ways than they have been, because they've been forced to do it. But what it's also shown us, COVID has also shown us the poverty divide, which I was talking about with cancer, but it's also shown us across society now as a whole. So that poverty divide is a digital divide, meaning that the people that need it most, which happens unfortunately with most things now in society, the people that need it most can afford it least. And one of the biggest flags that I saw and still see now during the COVID crisis is with education, online education, and the people that need it most, the families, for example, that maybe single parent families, as an example, they don't have extra fast broadband that we have. Some of them don't have broadband at all. Some of them only have one phone in the family. So, again, that divide has come. And it's absolutely vital. Digital communication is no longer a luxury. Digital communication is a necessity. They talked about the fourth service, I think was the AA or the RAC. but to me, digital service is as important as almost anything we have in life now. It's a necessity, but unfortunately people are getting left behind.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. Yeah, there's definitely a divide that's increasing in lots of areas, and not just this digital communication. Thinking about the charity sector, so you work in a charity sector and you founded your charity. There's also been a huge shift in how charities operate during COVID and how you thrive or survive. So how do you see, what are almost the lessons learned, and what are the changes that you've had to make, or you see that charities who are successful, what are the changes that they're making to survive and thrive in 2021?
You're absolutely right, Tuli. The charity world will change beyond recognition. Yes, I'm in the middle of it. And funnily enough, it hasn't affected us greatly as it would do with some of the big names. Because the way we do charity, we want to engage, and we're engaged with the people that we support. You know, we're a very personal charity, and I'm not saying that that's the answer, but that's the way we've built it. We want to get to know the people that we're helping, so we know most of ours personally, and it limits, yes, it limits us. You know, we are limited. We can't grow to a multi-million-pound charity like a lot of them are out there, but I don't want to be that. I actually want to provide a much more personalised service. So the problems that the big boys have, you know, not getting in their millions, is the fact that they're very big ships, like the HMS Belfast, and it's always been a problem to turn those, because they are businesses, to turn those businesses and make them nimble and agile. They haven't been in the past, and I feel they've been losing out, actually, slowly but surely, before COVID arrived. Now they've got to pivot, is the fancy word people use today, and it's very difficult for big businesses to pivot like that. Financially, we're in a different world, of course. A lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of people are starting new businesses where they may have stopped their regular giving, and they're definitely not thinking about starting it again. And that, you know, that's where I get it. So I believe that donors, as they're known, people that donate money, would now have to see some connection to the cause, to invite them to give their money. You know, wills were a big place. 30% of most big charities' income would come from wills. And I don't see that happening again, to be honest with you. I think that's a different generation. So there was a lot of money that used to come from wills that were given because a charity helped back in the day. But things are changing dramatically there. So you've got to think that what worked before doesn't necessarily work now. You need to be innovative and not boring, and you need to listen to what your people require, what you were previously giving to them. Is that the right offer? Did they actually want that in the first place? So really, you need to listen first before you broadcast. And unfortunately, a lot in the charity world just broadcast and think that's their work done. That's very lazy. Unless you listen to the people, you're not going to give them the right thing. Therefore, they're not going to be associated with you and will not donate.
Thank you. I do have one final question, Chris, for you. So people who are listening to this today and have learned about cancer poverty and the need for digital communication, as you said, it's an actual need. It's not just because you want it. You need to be connected to your GP, health sector, to your close family. What are some of the things that people could do beyond maybe donating money to your charity? What are some of the things that you could be doing?
Yeah, so thanks, Tuli. That's a great question, actually, because people these days, you know, when you ask them for money, they take a backward step. And I'm probably one of the world's worst fundraisers, actually. But I'm a business guy, and actually people say, oh, I haven't got anything to give, but actually they do. They do have a lot to give. So first of all, for us, a great value is in second-hand phones, you know, usable phones. And so many people have old phones sitting about the house that they've almost forgotten about. And, you know, we get 2 or 3 every day sent to us, and that's as good as £100 donation. You know, if people send us a couple of old phones, and actually people don't see that as cash. So, you know, they're no worse off by sending their 2 old phones that have been gathering dust somewhere. That's one thing, too. So we can certainly use old phones, and that's a great way of using them. We can help families stay in communication with each other with no extra cost, basically. But another way really is what I try and do is trade business expertise. So not everyone's good at everything, right? We all need other people's help. And, you know, I trade the things that I'm good at. I'm a decent marketer, and I can put stuff out there, and other people are not good at that. So I trade experience with people. So they might help me prepare a business case for something, or they might help me make some slides for PowerPoint, which is not my strength. And they'll trade that for a bit of extra publicity, which I can give them through my personal site, or through the charity. And people become partners because we exchange expertise, if you like. Money doesn't change hands necessarily, but actually we're a lot richer charity by the expertise that people want to give to us.
Thank you very much. So we had today Chris Lewis, the co-founder of Simpal, charity focused on digital communication. Thank you so much, Chris. And I'm Dr. Tuli Bell, and my vision is to bring joy to the world. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for having me.